My name is Haley Mansfield, and I've grown up my whole life being the cop's daughter, the daughter of Carson Mansfield. I'm asked all the time what it's like to be a cop's daughter, and I don't really know because I haven't had it any other way. But I do know I wouldn't want it any other way. There were so many cool things about having the father I did when I grew up, and you're about to hear a recording of my father telling one of my favorite stories of all time. My sister Allison Mansfield is also involved in the story, and this is a recording of him telling it to us for probably the 10th time, but I could just never get sick of hearing it. This is in honor of my father, Carson Mansfield, who not only has been a great father, but who has served the city of Salina for over 20 years. And if everyone else can talk.
Well, let's do it later. Can we do it later? I guess I can. Okay, all right. Back in '03, you guys were over at the library, and I had to come pick you up. And it was a hot summer evening. And I started to change clothes, and I decided, hell, I'm just going to go over and pick you up, so I'll just pick you up and go home. Well, I wouldn't even have gone that way, but a friend of mine pulled up alongside, and so I went straight on iron instead of heading over to Elm to pick you guys up. And I saw a chase coming at me. At first I thought it was a fire truck, and it had a huge wake behind it. The air kind of compresses and goes up in this big dust. And I thought, man, that fire truck is moving. And I realized it was our guys. And they turned and went north, out of the way. So I thought, well, okay. So I started on up the street, and here come the guys back the other direction. And in front of them is a local felon that I recognize, and he's on foot, and he's the head of these guys. And it's very clear that he's going to make it into the housing, and that's a bad deal. A felon on the run in housing is terrible. So I took my car, and I was crossing a parking lot, so I just jumped the curb and took the car and just went straight at him like I was going to run him over, and hoped I could bluff him into thinking I was going to run him over, and he believed me. So he jumped out. He put his hands up and dropped to his knees, and I rolled out of the car too fast to get it into park. And so I couldn't take my foot off the brake, and I had a 38 with a laser on it, and you do what you call cover and contact, where one officer covers and the other officer goes up in handcuffs. And so I'm covering, the guy coming up with a dog behind him is contact. And I want this guy to know I got a gun on him, and so I put the laser on his nose, because unlike the stories you always hear, where they put the laser on their chest and you can't see it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work that way. So you put it on their nose, and he's got to turn his head to keep the laser off of his nose. And that's why his head's turned in that picture. And I've got the laser on his head. And the officer that came up there, he now works for the KBI. He put him in handcuffs. And that was the end of that. Well, so I went ahead and over to the library to pick you guys up. And I told you I was sorry I was late, that I stopped a fleeing felon at gunpoint. And Allie goes, oh, sure, and Haley's not quite sure, but anyway. So I said, well, there was a photographer from the Journal there, because the dog went for the photographer and just about bit him, and I said, it'll be in the paper tomorrow. So about 4 a.m. I'm laying in bed, and I hear this pitter-patter of feet, and the door open, the door closes, and the pitter-patter of feet back to bed. And about 5 o'clock, I hear this pitter-patter of feet, and the door open. Somebody goes out, picks up the paper, comes back. I know it's the paper because I can hear the rubber band off the end of the paper. Then you hear the paper rustle and open, and you hear, sweet! And this picture was actually bigger than this on the front page of the paper. They gave me this when I quit being the news people. The Journal actually gave me that picture. But what you're seeing there is the dog was chasing the guy that's on the ground, and the Journal photographer, when the chase turned around, got back in the middle of the chase. So he jumped out to get a picture. Well, the dog's trained that that's a rifle, and the dog's going for the photographer. So they called him off, because I already had this guy at gunpoint. Well, the dog thinks it's training, so he's just sitting there happy, looking at the photographer. And this guy down here is swearing up a storm, and Lynn's got him in handcuffs. Well, no good deed goes unpunished. I had my moment of glory with my daughters when they saw the picture. But the next day, a city commissioner sent a deal to the chief of police and wanted specific answers to specific questions. Why was I wearing flip-flops? Why was I pointing my gun at the other officer? Why, this was obviously staged, was the dog laying there happy? And so, like I said, no good deed goes unpunished, but for just a moment, it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.